Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Hello, I'm Mario Tanaguzzi on Calgary's podcast on Canada's podcast network. Joining me today is Saawan Logan, who is co-founder of Northwater in Calgary. Thanks, Saawan, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, let me just start by asking you if you could explain what Northwater is and what you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. So Northwater is pure, all-natural Canadian Rocky Mountain spring water. It is sourced from Banff National Park, which is Canada's first national park, in a plastic-free and infinitely renewable option. So we are in aluminum bottles, and we try to make sure that we're a better product for the environment while showcasing Canada to the world. And we are sourced from the finest water you can get in Banff National Park. And it's naturally high in minerals, so 8.2 pH. And it's all things Canada. So it's basically embodies the spirit and ethos of the Rockies. So
tell me how you got involved in this.
Yeah, so I am, consider myself to be fairly well-traveled. And in all my travels and endeavors, I had never seen Canadian water anywhere. And after having tried water here when I go hiking, I drink out of the springs here and there, which is not the best, but it's nice and cold on a hot day. It makes me realize that why don't we have the world that knows Canada for its water? The French Alps has its water here. The Swiss Alps has this water here. Fiji water exists, but there's nothing that truly showcases Canada and the beautiful water we have. And so I felt that there was that gap in the market and then on international stage as well, because it made no sense for Canada to be not sitting beside Fiji water, Voss and Avian on an international stage. So that was kind of how this whole journey started. And then, plastics, of course, if you're putting out something so amazing, you don't want it in a yesterday product, right? Plastic is a yesterday product. So we thought, well, we needed something that was a better alternative for the environment, something that showed that we were responsible and for what we take, what we leave behind. And people love leaving behind plastic. And so, aluminum came through on a trip to Japan. There was aluminum options everywhere for coffee in bottles. So I thought, well, this is a perfect alternative to what we're looking for. And that's just the beginning. And here we are.
So when did you start?
Yeah, so we built our own facility. So started building a facility in 2019, October. That's when we got the land, the lease, started building. We went operational March 2020. So the same week as COVID lockdowns happened. And as you and I were talking earlier, we were very fortunate that we had some really good friends and customers that just became like total fans of us. And we're still around and we're still surviving. And this is going to be year 3 for us. So it's going to be, I like to say my first 2 years was testing phases. You were like trying to test your minimal viable product in the market and see if the market likes it or not. The only thing that sucked was at what cost it came.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So in terms of your reach right now, tell me where people can find Northwater.
Yeah, so we across Canada, coast to coast, we're in a lot of hotels. So if you're somebody who's staying in a hotel like a Shangri-La in Vancouver, you can find us there. If you're, if you're in a Jasper Park Lodge, Fairmont Jasper Park, you can find us there. You can find us at Lena's across Calgary. We're in a bunch of Safeway and Blush Lane. So we're in kind of those kind of stores. We're in organic stores. We're in some metros in Ontario. So we're in a lot of coffee shops, a ton of cafes and coffee shops carry us. They're all like primary market happens to be hotels, coffee shops, and cafes. So if you're in anywhere within, say, Calgary, BC, if you go into Hula, or if you go into Dirt Valley, if you go into, DeVille's, you'll find Northwater there.
Okay. Now, do you are you reaching out beyond Canada right now?
We are, yes. So we're in in US, we're trying to get into the market more and more. We're very slow in there, but we are. And then this year is the year we're trying for more international market. That's our goal.
Okay. Well, I looked at your background and on LinkedIn, and I see you have a very like oil and gas background with Pembina and Cenovus and what was the other, TransCanada.
Kennedy, yeah.
So how does somebody from the oil patch end up becoming an entrepreneur selling water?
Yeah, so I think it's I loved everything I ever did. My jobs were amazing, so I was one of those fortunate people. That said, there's always a need for more. I think entrepreneurs were, crazy hungry people where we want to put out more. We want, the world to see us, and we want to, do something meaningful. And it was that drove this because I felt the need to create and leave a legacy. And you don't get to do that. There's only very few who get to do that in a large corporation. Many of us just have to follow suit and just wait for things to happen for us. So I wanted to take charge of that. I wanted to do something that was going to leave that legacy behind for me. And so that's how North Water started. And I thought, you know what, it's going to be a journey, and the journey is going to be exciting. That's all I know. It's going to have its ups and downs, which it sure has. I wasn't wrong at all about the ups and downs. The extent, maybe, I wasn't hoping to be so like crazy. But it's been such a great experience of like learning, and it's just made me more resilient. And in all of it, like I haven't become $1 billion company as yet, but it still has makes me get up every morning and makes me go do things. And I feel like this is something that I'll always be very passionate about, and will hold my very near and dear to me, no matter where life takes us.
And I also noticed in your background you were involved with She EO. Explain a little bit about that and what that organization is and does.
Yeah. So that is really just a venture fund for women. So what it does is they've just done a rebranding of their name and naming and everything. So what they do is you become a member of the organization and you pay, your dues. And what they do is they support other female entrepreneurs in their journey, whether it's like through grant money or through investment. And then, you pay back over time, and then they use that money again to reinvest in other women. So it's just basically like a group that promotes women entrepreneurship. And so it's exciting to be a part of that. I mean, I think we need, as females, we, as you hear more and more about it, it's not as easy for us to be in business. And we see that, not only are we female entrepreneurs, and something you don't think about prior to this. I'd never thought of that, and I didn't think it was going to be something for real, but it is. And so it's important for us that, if we have gone through a certain journey, it's important for me to make sure that other women can either learn from it or not make the same mistakes or get the support they need where I can provide them the support. So an organization like She allows you to do that outside of, within your own network and who you can help yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talked a little bit about being an entrepreneur. I want to explore that a little bit more. Let's start with the positive side of things. What is it that you like about being an entrepreneur?
I said making a difference, leaving a legacy, creating something. I'm not an artistic person, but creating. When you start a business, you create something. You create a product. You create a service, and it's that instant gratification that you get. The same way construction workers have the highest, they say, job satisfaction, because they get to see a product and they get to see their work. And I think being an entrepreneur in a CPG world, in the world I am in, the consumer world, it is that as well. You hold your product the first time in your hand. It's something. You created something, and that is such a rewarding space to be. Then there's other parts of it too, where you realize that what you're building affects many people in many different ways. You have people who work with you in the company who depend on you for their mortgages and for their food on the table. So you're creating employment. So it's not just creating a product and making money. It's also about like creating employment and giving opportunities to people. I look around and I love giving opportunities to people who otherwise wouldn't have had the same opportunity in life. So it allows you to give back in different ways other than just volunteering for a charity. And that, I think, is a feeling that I can't replace with anything.
Let's flip it over a bit. And what is it that you don't like about being an entrepreneur?
It's a lot of up and down. There's a lot of ups and downs, and you have to be ready for it, right? So, lots of sleepless nights. There's lots of days when you wonder where your rent is going to come from, where the next, wage is going to come from, when you get paid yourself. Like, as a business, for the first however many years, you don't expect a salary. And if you're someone like me who's, never had not to get a salary since I started working, it takes a lot to kind of be like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting paid. My RSP contributions aren't getting made. And because it's easy to look at the picture today versus saying, no, I'm working towards something bigger here. And so that can, there are days when that does affect me, because I'm like, when am I going to get paid? Because it's what you put in is what you get out, right? It's not like a oil and gas job where you could put in less and still get what you were getting yesterday. Here, it's a very, what you put is what you get. So, it's a journey, and the journey isn't smooth. The journey is a positive journey. The journey can also have some major roadblocks. So a lot more grays and wrinkles.
So when you talked about the journey, on that journey, like where did you seek advice? Where did you seek help along that way? Like, were there any individuals that that you looked up to, whether it's famous business people or anything, or any books that you read that helped you along the way?
Yeah, so I read a lot. I'm a reader. I listen to podcasts, which most people do, these days. And a lot of us don't have that much time, like spend more time listening to podcasts than reading. And one of my favorite books in the world, and I would recommend it to anybody, is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And if you're an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur and want to kind of get, some motivation in life, or just get an idea of what this journey really will feel like, read the book, because I swear it's my life. It's just, he's just created Nike, which is a much bigger brand than North Border is today. But it's, every entrepreneur can relate. The nights of like where you're stretching it thin to make it to the next production, not getting paid on time, or having a rent due, or trying to like now dealing with supply chain issues, or having your supplier not come through, or something like that. So I think that to me is, Phil Knight has been my biggest mentor from a world of people that I've never met. And then there's people I've met along the journey as well, who are other small entrepreneurs and business within the community. And lots of people who, it's interesting how strong the community is. And it's really nice to have that. Like, I've got a number of people I've met just through this journey, and they're all willing to share. They're all willing to open their hearts, and they're all willing to open their doors. They're all willing to, open their network. And it's tough not to find solace in that.
So if you had somebody that was young that came to you, and was asking you for advice, what would you say to them?
I would say to them, don't let everything outside of your little world make you lose sleep. Is all I'd say to them. That if you're going to embark on something like this, or even if you don't embark on something like this, your journey is your journey, and be on that path and go on the journey. Enjoy every moment, whether it's good or bad, because there are no failures. They're all lessons at the end of the day. But whatever you can't control, anything beyond your control, don't ever lose sleep on it, because none of that matters at the end. So it's helped me in my life a lot. I don't lose sleep over things I can't control. And I think everybody can use it.
Oh, okay, then. And being an entrepreneur is in many ways a 24/7 job, right? And how do you deal with that? How do you find the work-life balance to function, I guess, on all cylinders?
Yeah, I think first of all, I I love the word work-life balance. I just don't think they actually mean much because every person is so different. Because what work-life balance might mean to me might not mean anything to anybody else. And some people don't want work-life balance because their work is the passion that drives them, that ignites them, or their life is the passion that drives them and ignites them, and they don't necessarily need work in the mix. So I think the important thing is finding those little opportunities to take time for yourself. It's very, very important. Your mental health is your business. You are your business. As an entrepreneur, you are your business. So if you don't take care of your health and you, nobody else will. We always joke that in a corporate world, you are replaceable. You're just a number on a seat. If you don't take care of yourself, tomorrow somebody else comes and fills up that seat. Well, the exact thing is in business too. If you don't take care of yourself, there is no business. You are the business. So it's trying to create a routine for yourself is important, like waking up a bit early, 10 minutes earlier than normal or 15 minutes earlier, and having that solitude and meditating and working out and doing things that allow you to mentally and physically function better. So, proper care of your health. It's easy to be, again, in this world and have so much networking and all these opportunities that come your way to constantly be going out, drinking and eating and doing this. But it's not ultimately the right way to live as a person because it doesn't help you. So it's making choices. You have to consciously make choices to choose you in this whole journey.
So what do you do when the choices that you make that choose you? Like what kind of things do you do and like to do?
So I do meditate every day. When I wake up and I go to bed, I'll take 10 minutes out. I don't have a ton of time to meditate, but 10 minutes is just, me time of breathing and being okay in my space. I work out. I go to make an effort to go to the gym. Doesn't always happen, but I try. I try and eat healthy as much as I can. I cook my meals at home and try to do that. But one of the things that has really helped me in my life, and I found this since my oil and gas days, is I do digital detox. So I take like 3 days off every quarter where I don't look at any TV, any screen, any computer, nothing.
Wow.
And I used to go out of Calgary and stay in places like Emerald Lake, for example, where, there's no internet and there's nothing in your room, no TV. And I would meditate, I would read. So I would do a lot of reading and I would meditate. I didn't spend time hiking or anything because to me that was an activity. So the idea was to be bored and just be alone and just be in a space with nothing, no distraction. So I would go for a short walk or something, but I'd come back and I'd read. So it was a lot of time of journaling. And of course, during COVID, couldn't really go too far or go anywhere. So I started to realize that, I can make my own space at home in the same thing. I just need the willpower to not do certain things. I don't need the world to shut the internet for me. I need to be strong enough to turn it off for myself without physically switching off this, turning the switch off. And I did that. And it changed my relationship with devices, with computers, and with television. Like I can go months without turning the TV on in my house. And it's perfect because it's totally, I don't do the meaningless scrolling anymore on that. Same with Instagram and social media. It doesn't have the dopamine hit or anything. It doesn't do anything for me. So it's changing your mindset is really what you need to do. And these are things I do and has worked for me.
So I'm just curious, like, what was there something that sparked you or that to do this digital detox? Was there an aha moment that you said, okay, I got to do this?
Yeah, I think for me it was I always had a very, go, go, go life. And I felt that in this go, go, go life, I didn't really know who I was anymore. I couldn't, and I needed to reacquaint with myself. And the only way to get to know myself better again was to shut out everything else that was outside. And the easiest way to do it was to say, what is it that hyper-stimulates my brain that really serves no purpose? And it was technology. And, I felt I missed the simplicity. I was born in Fiji and I grew up in Fiji, and I missed the simplicity of life, of just playing with my neighbors next door, playing underneath a tree, falling asleep under the tree, running around and having my parents present. My parents would have dinner, they'd be present. They won't be having dinner, they'd be around us and they were present. They were talking to us, they were talking to each other. They weren't on their devices. And I missed that simplicity. And I wanted to find that. And I couldn't find that outside in the outside world. because, your job expects you to have a phone and check it at 10 o'clock at night. That was kind of part of the expectation. So I had to go, instead of going outside, I had to go inwards. And the only way to do it inwards was to start taking time out to find me, and then taking out the outside things that no longer served that purpose.
Mm-hmm. So, earlier in our conversation here, you mentioned travel, and you like to travel a lot. What's your favorite place that you've visited?
I just got back from Europe, and I was in Budapest, and I hadn't been there before, and it absolutely blew my mind. I was so much in love with the place, and the reason being was because every building was so beautiful. I couldn't walk past one without being in awe of it. And I think it was just gorgeous to see the architecture, and that took me like, I thought it was perfect. But also just seeing the history of the place as well, where there's been so much. There's basically, like, from the Ottoman Empire to, like, everybody has had a rule over for Hungary at some point. Everybody has fought for it because of its strategic positioning in Europe.
Yeah.
And yet this country stands, and it's got every bit of that history is weaved in its architecture and its culture. And I was in Austria, Slovakia, and Budapest, and I have to say, Budapest, I wish I had been there sooner. So yeah, it was amazing. So it's now one of my favorite places.
Oh, wonderful. So just to recap things, and we'll come back to Northwater. Just tell me a little bit about the plans for the future for the company.
Yeah, so we just launched sparkling water in December. So that was a nice little, boost to the products we carry. And we're excited to share that with the world. For us, it's growth. We're trying to grow in the market. We're trying to get more market share. We're trying to put more Canadian water across the world. So it's going to be basically that, and focusing this year on that growth, focusing this year on the export markets, and focusing this year on getting more people to start recognizing that we don't need water from France and Fiji when we have our own.
Yeah.
They don't need to travel. We've got it. Like, it's in our backyard, and it's here, and we have it. So why not? So yeah, grow the brand.
All right, wonderful. Well, thanks, Saawan, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's lovely to be on this, and appreciate your time, and appreciate you learning more about us and sharing with your viewers. So thank you.
All right, that was Saawan Logan, who is co-founder of Northwater, based in Calgary. I'm Mario Toneguzzi with Calgary's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.